There's a I, I, I love this wonderful old Chinese teacher, Doc Wei. He, he wrote the well the book that was published of his letters to his students was called, it's called Swampland Flowers. He had this kind of theme that um, I want to talk just a little bit about. He not only he but his teacher Wan Wu and Wan Wu's teacher Wu Zhu, I think his name was. Um, so someone would write and they were discouraged, and they would say, I feel so dull and kind of slow, and I don't really get this stuff. It's really hard to understand, and I just don't think that I'll ever be capable of getting it. And so, and he specifically wrote back to one person, and he said, "So who is that who recognizes that other part of you is dull, right?" And he says, "So who is that sees that some part of you is slow? Is that person slow that sees that there's somebody slow?" So he would say this. He had this expression, and it's an expression that is an extraordinarily helpful and important. He said, I'm paraphrasing, I don't know what he said, but he said something to the extent that there's no second you. There is no second Beverly. There's just Beverly, right? There's no a second Victor. There's just whatever Victor is. But don't we create a second me? Isn't there? Doesn't everyone walk around with, like a second person? So for instance, and this is kind of, but anyway, so he would say this, and his teacher would say that too over and over. There is no second person. There's not someone else sitting on your head, right? There's not like little Lisa, right, or big Lisa, or whatever, Lisa, and then the body. The Buddha said this, taught this. It's just revolutionary. This is really radical, and ain't nobody who likes it in the West. He said, the only reality that we know of, right, that we can really, really experience is that there's a body and there is a mind. Now that's the same thing as saying there's no second you, really, right? There's just you. I'll explain that if that doesn't make sense. But he said there's nama rupa, and that's really in some ways kind of the essence of in some ways that's the a core teaching, and it's funny, funny in that because it seems like, oh, okay, there's nama and there's rupa. So you sit and you close your eyes, and the rupa, rupa is that which is that which breathes, and we say I am breathing, but the experience in meditation would not be I am breathing. There is breathing. I mean, that's really what you experience if you're really doing it, right? If you really got that mind kind of shut down, you're still a little bit, there is breathing. And the truth is that it is actually what, so who's breathing? Well, so the body is breathing, and then there is the awareness. There's the knowing of breathing. That would be nama. Nama is the knowing, the mental, the awareness, if you want to call it that. And there's the body. Okay. Now, we have grown up forever to say, and then there's me. All right? There's the body, there's the mind, and then there's me. For instance, what do you mean when you say my body? What do you mean when you say my mind? John says, well, I have a mind. And I say, and so, okay, and so who is that who has a mind? Who is that? It's a profound question. It's a profound question. Who is that who has a mind? So, so Robert's sitting over there and he says, well, I'm looking at you, Victor. Who is that who is looking at Victor? So, because it would say, we can boil it down again to nama rupa, body and mind. So this is all so I think it's, first of all, I have this, I think that's the hardest thing for us in the world. I mean, if I look at Andrea and accuse her of being a mind, right? What? How dare you call me a mind? Right? So look at Lisa and say, well, you know, you're a mind. What? You know, I mean, that's insulting. I am a spirit, I suppose, or I am a soul, or you know, I am eternal, or whatever. And so we're not about to discount that idea. That's not what I'm not trying to do that. But I am trying to suggest that we have this extraordinary resistance to acknowledging the mind, just acknowledging the presence of the mind, that which knows. I don't know what that's about exactly, but I think I do. I mean, I think it's something about that we were taught forever, you know, that we're going to die and go to heaven and live forever. That's a pretty strong attachment, I suppose. So all of this comes to, so I drove to Studio City this morning to have breakfast with a very dear friend. We've been friends since, well, it was after the Civil War. The war. Lincoln had been assassinated, as I remember. It was just very shortly after that. No, we have been friends since 1970. We wrote music together in New York City. She wrote the words and I wrote the music. So we've been dear friends for that long, and that she has been able to hang on. It's a testament to great courage and endurance. But in any event, she, I drove and we went to the Sportsman's Lodge. We always have breakfast there on Ventura Boulevard. I got lost, as I always do. I drove right by it, and then I call her on the phone, and she's waiting in the booth. I said, I don't know where this place is. She said, you have to turn around. So I got there, and so we, she wanted to talk. She wanted to have a little bit of a spiritual conversation, which is great, and we rarely do that. And so I said, so what is it you want to talk about? And she said, well, it's something you said in the Dharma Corner in your essay. And I said, really? And she said, yes. She said, you had said that in Buddhism the belief is that there's only a body and a mind. And I said, I thought, oh God. I said, don't believe that. I said, I never meant that. I said, that's just hype. They just say that. She says, no, she said, seriously, she said, I've been disturbed by that ever since. And I said, well, when did I write that? She says, I don't remember. It some time ago. And I said, She said, and she said, you said that there's only body and mind. And she said, does that mean there's nothing else? I said, well, really, I thought, oh dear. And she said, so then what's the point? What's the point? If there's nothing else but just body and mind, what's the point? And then I said, I did say, so who's asking the question? You know, but it was really wonderful. And then she said, so then who? She said, if there's only body and mind, she says, then where does karma come in? How is it that how does karma happen? So that like the bad things create bad events and good things. She's a very smart person, by the way. So, so we talked about it for really the whole time, and I would like to tell you, that I had acid reflux, so I told her I had to go to the bathroom. So it was really wonderful to be in that dialogue with her and to experience. Well, by the way, I wanted to say, so I just said, so what got all of this started, right? I mean, how'd you get really so kind of exercised about this business? And she said, it was your Dharma Corner. I mean, she didn't back away from it, and so she took it very seriously, and she read it very seriously. So so I asked her if she found it frightening to consider the fact that all there is this body, that is body and mind, and she thought about it, and she acknowledged that the idea that there's nothing really outside of just this body and mind is a rather frightening concept. So we talked about it together, and we came to a pretty good place. And I told her one of the things that I wanted to express to her is that what the Buddha was really about, and I do think that really to some extent this whole thing that we're doing, it's about exploding concepts and ideas, the idea of the self, right? I mean, walking around with this solidified idea that there is this me, it isn't, it's been called the negative way, meaning that you say it's not this and it's not this and it's not this and it's not this, and whatever it is, it's what's left. So, and then I think, I don't necessarily remember saying this to her, but it is certainly true that in the reading of, when you read story after story after story after story, so like the fire god comes looking for fire was the one that I wrote last week. You never read, I've never read one single person who's experienced the truth of whatever self is and said, oh my God, it's terrible. Everyone seems to feel enormous freedom and joy from whatever it is that is there to discover. Do you understand? It's like, in other words, letting go of some solidified, constricted, small definition of what we are. We don't end up in this sort of dark void of despair. It's like some enormous place of freedom. So remember the riddle I said, I gave you all a riddle about 10 years ago. What is lighter than a feather but heavier than an elephant? And it's just this me that just weighs us down. This sense of me, right? This me. It doesn't weigh anything, but yet it weighs us down, right? It's like having an elephant on your shoulders. So the idea of as we were reading last week, when you're accused of having a mind, or accused of being a mind, if you believe with as Wang Bo wrote, as we read last week, that this mind is everything, and he described it as one, and Buddhas and sentient beings are one, that we are all one thing, and it is this. It is something that was never born and will never die. Awareness. What could be bad about that? What could be awful about being that? But it seems like it's no. I don't want to be mind. I don't want to be that. I want to be me. So the famous story, I've read it before, but the story of Bodhidharma, who came from India to China, and this, they supposedly sat and looked at a wall for 9 years. They actually, they have legends that his eyelids, that he fell asleep one time and he was so upset with himself he cut his eyelids off. That's a pretty serious person, right? And then the eyelids fell down, and then tea. That's where tea came. So the Chinese have these stories. So, he had this one student who came and stood in the snow. It was snowing, and it snowed all the way up to his knees. And Bodhidharma, of course, was looking at the wall. The poor guy just stood there, but it's interesting because they say he rested in waiting. I mean, the guy stood there, but in patience. But anyway, so you all heard this story. When Bodhidharma finally spoke to him, he said, "So what can I do for you?" And he did have a Southern Tennessee accent. He said, "So what can I do for you?" And so the guy said, "I want help me to quiet my mind. Help me to quiet." And then of course, old Bodhidharma said, "Oh, well, okay, I will." He said, "Just bring it to me, and I'll do that for you." So you see. So if you really grasp that, it's quite wonderful, right? Because I mean, it's the same thing as when the guy said to the teacher, right? "Show me myself," right? And the teacher said, "Oh, the fire god comes looking for fire," right? It's the same thing. The guy says, "Show me myself." So this guy says to Bodhidharma, "Help me to find my mind and to quieten my mind." And so the Bodhidharma says. So, in other words, the Bodhidharma heard a split, didn't he? Didn't he? Help me to quiet my mind? Who is the I who's asking to have his mind quiet? Right? It was a split. There's the I, there's me, and then there's my mind. And I want you, great teacher, to help me to quiet that mind that's given me so much trouble. Right? Who is that was asking the question? So the Bodhidharma said, "Okay, I'll do that. Bring your mind to me and I'll do it." So the guy says, "Oh, okay, thank you." And I guess he's tried for a while to go find his mind, right? Have you ever gone around looking for your mind? And to an extent, that's what we're doing every single time we sit. And I certainly wish that, that we have some success with it. So he finally gives up. So he comes back to me and he says, "I can't." He says, "I'm sorry." He says, I can't find it." And Bodhidharma says, "Well, I've done it for you. I've quieted it for you." So that's the fundamental human error. Right? That's the fundamental error. We have this split of there's me and then there's my mind, right? And then we're always walking around. So we come to meditation. Help me to quiet my mind. It's the same thing, or we go to a teacher too. But if we become the closer we come to quieting the mind, it's only because we are coming closer and closer to becoming what we are. What most of the teachers that I've ever read and studied, what they point to is that what we are is we're something beyond body and mind. But the minute we start putting words to it and say I'm this self or I'm this soul or I'm this spirit or whatever, we've already lost it. It's gone. So I'm in my fantasy. When the guy came to the teacher and said, "Help me to show me myself," and the teacher said, "The fire god comes looking for fire," the guy thought, "Oh, I'm the fire god." So of course he wasn't, right? Because he had split, right? He had gone in, he had split. So he'd be, so the teacher gave him this brilliant teaching, but he missed it. And then you know what they say? They say the arrow has flown past Korea. Or the falcon. In other words, it's gone. The teacher says something and you think about it and it's gone because you've split inside into a thought and you can't grasp the truth. So of course it took him 3 years to set the whole thing up again, right? And then the teacher, and he finds another teacher and says, "Okay, well, ask me that same question. What was that question?" And so he says, "Show me myself. Show me this something." He says, "Oh, yeah." He says, "The fire god comes looking for fire." And he got it. He didn't think. He experienced the essence of what he was, which is profound silence. There was no thought. If there had been any thought, it was like an intuitive awareness that rose up. So, one of the things that I love about that story is that it teaches us that you cannot think your way into anything, John. There's an old saying, right? We used to say you can't think your way out of a paper bag. Boy, is that ever true. You can't think your way really into any great insight or any truth. But this there is something that is already the truth. That there's Eric is the truth. You can just get right? You are the truth. So if you go seeking it, you can possibly find it, right? I mean, if you go seeking something that you are, how could you ever find it, right? It's like the story of the musk deer that's right intoxicated by the smell of musk, right? So it just goes looking and looking, trying to find that smell of musk. It is musk. So I guess. So I can't tell you. I mean, my conversation with my friend was very wonderful. I don't even know what I said or what she said, but we both felt that we came to some understanding of why there's enormous freedom in that idea of body and mind. And so if I accuse you of being in mind, don't be insulted.